So in this video, I'm going to be playing in Africa. One thing to mention is I didn't play in Africa for a while, so it's pretty nice to play a country in here again. I mean, Africa doesn't have that many countries to begin with, but I really only played Morocco here. I didn't ever play Mamluks from my memory. And if I did, it's probably only for like a couple seconds or anything. Not like an actual run or something like that. Anyway, as Tunisia, I kicked off the run with getting some like small territories from the little states in the south, and then invading Tlemcen. Tunisia does have a pretty good start, but Tunisia is a different game from Morocco because Morocco is pretty like close to Spain. So if you're playing Morocco, you might want to go into Spain instead of like France or Italy. It's just too far away from those areas to really do that effectively, in my opinion. But we're doing pretty fine here. I took out the last part of my Zao, even though I forgot to vassalize it. I did vassalize the other two by now, I think. But I am watching some like chaos happening in Italy over there, so I decided it's a pretty good idea to hop on in. But first, I invade Tlemcen. You know, it's average Tunisia. Anyway, I just take Tlemcen's land. Takes a little bit of time, but I take Tlemcen's land. And I go ahead and vassalize Mazab just to finish off the little states in the south. Now that I have my southern flank secured, I can actually go expanding. Even though I should have probably got Fazan before I got Lucca, because I think the Mamluks got it by now. But regardless, I took Lucca, and if you border a province, you tend to have like better claimability on things surrounding the province. And Lucca borders Genoa, and Genoa's pretty good for trade, so I take out Genoa. Also, I have some mildly friendly relations with France at this point, but there's not much to mention there. Florence is next on my list, and after the war with Florence, I think I redirect my trade to Genoa, which is what you should do if you like play in this region, especially France. Like, don't collect in Paris. Like, if you're playing France, collect in either Gibraltar or Genoa. That's roughly it. Because France, you're not really going to have that much of a colonial game, in my opinion. Because of England, they might just hamper that. I mean, if England doesn't hamper that, then you might want to click on the English Channel, even though they could just blockade that. So you might want to have like a backup in Genoa. But anyway, enough about France. I went ahead and invaded Rome over here. So I'm pulling Carthage, I guess. I did ask France if he wanted to invade Avignon, but I don't think he did it. He may have. Yeah, no, he did. I probably just wasn't paying attention at the time. But I called Rome just to try and ensure that it doesn't rebel or anything. And the Byzantines have a really bad name tag. Which, I mean, it's fine. That's just how that early game start is. It's pretty good for 15-14 for Byzantines. Also, there's some action in Iberia. France is invading Aragon. Aragon used to be a player, and they were allied with Granada. But they just left, so I can go ahead and invade them. Granada forms an illusion later, and it did help them to some degree, some stuff. But later we have some issues, but that's fine. But as of now, I don't have any ambitions on like Iberia or stuff like that. Anyway, I think the Ottomans are getting invaded again here, and Naples is set up to be invaded, which it is. My goal here is to not take Naples proper, because I don't even have the whole thing claimed. But just to save it so I have provinces that I own bordering the rest of Naples, so I can claim it easier potentially. Granada forms, which is pretty good timing for, well, Granada. I go ahead and invade Spain to try and get the Canary Islands, and it works pretty well, I guess. Granada joins, but it's pretty late. Which, I mean, yeah. But whatever, he got more of Iberia now. He probably should have, like, converted it, but again, it might have just taken too long. He might just not want to do that, it's fine. But by now I took all of southern Italy, roughly. So I have a pretty good power base in Italy and Africa. So if I want to power project, it's pretty good for me here. But I am just commentating on the map what's going on. There's two major wars, France versus Burgundy and the Golden Horde, Mamluks, and I think someone else versus Bulgaria and Byzantium. The Byzantines lose that one, by the way. They did have a pretty early game start, in my opinion, but it just didn't hold up to the Mamluk Horde combo. Oh yeah, I think it was Transoxiana who was also invading Byzantium. But regardless, Constantinople was actually under the Golden Horde, not Mamluks, even though the Mamluks took it, I think. But, I go ahead and colonize Brazil over there. And Transoxiana is over in Poland, so that's something to note. By now the server is getting a little bit smaller, so it is more like a concentrated player base, but I was noting that Iberia was starting to get converted, but it didn't really convert much after that. Because later when I invade Iberia, it doesn't, that part's not that present. But anyway, as of now we have Prussia, England, and I think Andalusia switched to France, and then just left. Anyway, we have Mamluks and myself. So that's pretty cool. I do have plans on Morocco, and they do happen, but not now. It's a bit delayed. There are some pretty interesting things that happen in the server, like Andalusia colonizing Mexico. I don't think I mentioned that. And also England colonizing, a whole bunch of other people colonizing. But I go ahead and beat Morocco again to try and get those little territories. Because what I don't want is someone vassalizing Morocco and potentially using that in a war against me. So that probably lead to me losing land without them having to really claim anything. So I don't really want that. But anyway, Naples is revolting. Italy revolts a lot in this game, honestly. But one thing I've noticed is, I haven't really seen many Milan players. Milan's a good country. You could just play it. It's not hard to play. I mean, sure, there's France and Venice, but you could beat Venice. Just ally Austria, you're fine. Also, Prussia's invading Denmark at this point. I'm preparing to invade France, which I do. Initially I was trying to invade the Milan, but that didn't work because Milan was a vassal, so into France I go. And France gets swamped early game, basically. But it mostly stalls roughly under Alps, which, that's fine, I guess. It's because it's a fort, that's probably why. But Italy revolts again, so that draws my attention away from the French. And I go ahead and raise an army again, and I go ahead and try and crush rebels. But I am holding Italy pretty well. France gets evicted from most of Italy, although they do keep one fort, which is not quite ideal for me. Anyway, Naples gets suppressed again, and Granada is now under a new player. Anyway, I go AFK for a little bit. Granada is basically just kicking out Portugal at this point. Well, not fully, but they do some stuff. Also at this point I'm getting some money, so I'm not sure if that's on camera. But anyway, the Mamluks are invading Britain, even though there's no Mamluk player. It's the AI doing it, but I think Britain wins. Anyway, Morocco is now getting invaded, and this is the one they actually get annexed in. So it takes until the 1630s to get Morocco, which is not great timing. The fact I can get most of Italy before Morocco is a bit silly. But at this point I decided to clean up my little vassals over in Africa. And it goes pretty well. They get annexed pretty quickly. It's not a big of a deal. Those vassals early game are mostly for money, because you can get 0.21 tribute from each of them, I think. Well, usually. Anyway, I go ahead and flank Venice and just take Modena, and also take Mantua. Anyway, my goal is to reduce Venice to one province state, and it works pretty well from what I could tell. But I first invade France without realizing that Venice is actually building a star fort, and it goes pretty well. I actually occupy some lands, and I take over Venice proper. So Venice is not doing well. I take over that land from Venice, and I go ahead and advance on Paris, and I take it and just carpet siege. Well, the carpet siege ended quite quickly, but I carpet siege some stuff. Anyway, it took France's 4 over in Italy, so in a potential future war, probably go a lot quicker. Anyway, we're roughly around the midpoint of the game, and I'm doing pretty good now. I'm trying to vassalize Switzerland so I could hand them stuff in the peace deal potentially. Which, it pretty good. Well, I mean, it sort of goes well. I'm not actually able to give Switzerland everything I wanted to give them, because they don't have cores on Geneva for some reason. Which I think should be changed, honestly. But anyway, the Granada player is over in a war with France, so this is going on over there in the background. I'm just chilling being AFK right now. That's roughly it. They're just struggling against France. Anyway, now I'm back. And I decided to go ahead and invade France, but not right now. Well, as of saying that, because Andalusia was taking my desired land from France and my claims, well, part of it. So I lured my one stack to get his army, so the French army, which is bigger than his, could attack it. So now he's weaker. And I go ahead and liberate some more land. I'm trying to get the French to liberate Andalusian land, but it just doesn't do that, which is a bit unfortunate. But it's fine, I guess. I'm still doing good against the French. And I go ahead and beat their armies several times, which goes pretty well. My Swiss vassals actually doing some stuff, which is a bit surprising because the North African ones didn't really do anything other than give me some money. Which is, I mean, that's expected of them, but it's the way that works sometimes. Anyway, Andalusia, upon seeing me justify for one war with him because he took my desired claims, left. Which, I mean, I don't really blame him. But I go ahead and barrel down into Iberia. And it goes pretty well. One thing to note is he has Mexico, so I don't actually get rid of Andalusia completely, which I do support. I didn't want to delete the whole tag from the game, or then be like a rebel or something. But I suppressed some rebels. Right now my autonomy, it's pretty high, and my cores are pretty low. So that's not quite ideal for me. At least in terms of rebels and stuff. But I am converting my lands decently well. There's like a whole conversion spree later in the video. But that's not for now. For now I'm just trying to core and like claim some more of Iberia. But anyway, I go ahead and form some armies up over in North Africa. And I just send them over into Gibraltar and off into Iberia. And on we go. Andalusia's Catholic for some reason. That's not really the spirit of the, formal. But he has a colony in Mexico, so I'm not sure why he might have only lived in Europe, so it's a bit confusing, but if you have a colony, that counts to religious unity. So you don't have to worry about that much. Just expand your colony, it would be fine. But anyway, I go ahead and invade France again. And my goal is to completely secure the Western Mediterranean, which I do pretty well, but not right now. There's still a war going on. But my troops are pretty weak at this point. It's probably because I didn't do the tech. Which, that's, an average Tunisia move. I sometimes forget to do that, but it's okay. I still win anyway. Because I have more manpower than French at this point. Well, at least more usable manpower. And they get beaten. So, I take some territory. I'm just annexing some more to try and get some more money. And it works. I take the entire, Mediterranean coast up to Italy. So that's a pretty good accomplishment as Tunisia. Pretty good, I'd say. Anyway, now my goal territorially is to secure the rest of Iberia, which goes pretty well because, surprisingly, it doesn't actually cost that much to, claim it political power-wise, because it's 1760, Iberia falls within 50 years, which is pretty good especially if you include like peace timers, that kind of stuff. I think it's a lot less than 50 years, by the way, because the run ends in 50 years. That's from my memory. Anyway, Iberia's core map was kind of silly, so I put it up there. Anyway, I redirected some trade to Genoa, which fixed my economic problems. I did say I have a pretty good economy earlier, but I invested in Tunisia, so that might have like stifled that. Anyway, I took over Portugal, and what's left is Andalusia over in northern Spain. So, yeah, not much going on there. I have some rebels to deal with, and they get dealt with. And now I go ahead and invade Andalusia. They early take Galicia, and it ends up being the last territory in Spain, and get kicked out. Well, yeah, now they get kicked out. Now my goal is to try and like make my whole land religiously unified. It mostly is, but there are some significant parts of Spain that are still lacking. But I expanded to Brazil a little bit, increasing that religious unity stuff, which is pretty good if you're, trying to do this kind of stuff. And I set my religious tolerance right down to 1, which speeds up the process a lot quicker. So I get some revolts, but it really isn't that bad, honestly. Their roots are suppressed, and I just move on. I suppressed them in the north over France, and I just wrapped them up. Yeah. It's a pretty wise thing to do to spawn troops if you're planning on doing this kind of stuff. But the culture map was pretty fine. Tunisian culture is pretty big, but that's mostly because of the colonies, not really because of like mainland. Anyway, we're approaching the end of the run here, so hope you guys liked the video. It's a new everyone. See ya.